All right, we are live.
Ooh, are we on the internets?
Yes, so many gigabytes.
Hello out there. Ooh, ooh, you need to put pants on. Ooh. Hi, Mom.
I'm gonna hop on Facebook real quick. Share
You know, if
this
this were a
out.
talk show, we'd have theme music.
Yeah, we need to do that. That's on the list of things to do.
Yeah, I went down a rabbit hole. I only know the YouTube music library, so I don't know what the rules are for Twitch and all that stuff, but
Yeah, I
you can
was
go.
looking at what you sent me, and that's they had some language about the different things, and I was like, I am not ready to figure that
Dive
what
into
you're
that.
saying out.
Yeah, but especially, yeah, and probably better to read all that before you
Jeez.
dive into the music, because you can just spend an hour listening to 30-second zingers.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
of course, you could just make it up.
You could
No, thank you.
just
No one wants
just
to hear that.
be you.
Nobody wants to hear that. All right. Yeah, if you guys want to start, go
Before
ahead.
we start, okay. So before we start, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are out there in the internet. Our buddy Norm has a little announcement he'd like to make, and he has the floor.
Hey, what's up, everybody? So, just wanted to make an announcement about this at the top of the show, and we'll probably bring it up again at the end. But um, be aware that this Saturday we're going to be doing our Extra Life Day of game all day, 24-hour telethon kind of thing. So I'm going to be playing on Windy City Ghostbusters on Twitch, along with Bob Anderson and Bob After Dark Plays. And we're going to be raising money for Extra Life, which will raise money for the Children's Miracle Network, which is Lurie's Children's Hospital in the Chicagoland area, but also hospitals all across the country. And it's a really awesome. We got a lot of different games we're going to be playing, and different things and different ways for you to interact with us while making donations. So we're pretty excited about it. So keep an eye out for that on Saturday and hang out with us. And it'll be super awesome because we're going to be playing video games from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and it's going to be hell.
I'm going to tune in for that 4 to 8 stretch on Sunday morning.
Yeah, we'll be like,
just Cheeto dust, just all covering your.
oh,
your mouths.
Cheeto dust. You might just find me asleep at my desk, but it'll be fun, and we're raising money for kids to help sick kids, which is super awesome, and we're very excited. So, all right, guys, you guys go ahead with your stuff.
Norm's going to have that little duck that, just
just hits the A button
from Darkman.
And on that note, hit the music. Bana, bana, it's why we bust a dun. It's why we bust a dun. It's why we bust. That is horrible theme music. We got to work on that. Oh my God, we need something better. But
it's a step up.
It's a step up. So again, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to all of you who are watching out there. Our Ghostbusters, our fellow Ghostbusters, our team members, our Ghostbusters enthusiasts, our haters, our lovers, everyone who's watching this show right now. Welcome to Why We Bust. I am the man who is on the proton. I put the O in ecto. I am the mouth of the South Side. I am JR Barajas, your Windy City Ghostbusters president. And I am taking over as Why We Bust host for tonight. So I can introduce to you our permanent host, Patrick Calvert. Everyone give it up for Patrick. Yay! I don't hear him anymore.
I can hear him.
I hope they're clapping. All right. Well then.
They're actually all, we don't have Patrick in the stream right now because they're outside the house cheering me on through the window here. So
That's
good to see you.
That's all right. That's okay. But hopefully Patrick brings the same energy that I just did. Actually, that's a challenge. He better bring the same energy I just brought. So, welcome to the show, Patrick.
Thank
It
you.
is lovely
Thanks for
to have
having
you.
me.
Why don't you give us a little intro as to who you are and how you found Windy City Ghostbusters?
Sure. Well, as JR said, my name is Patrick Calvert. I've been a member of Windy City Ghostbusters since the 2023 O'Hare plane pull. So I want to say late August or September was when I officially got sworn in. But yeah, I found you guys as, I had been like a part of GB fans and their forums for, I don't know, almost like 20 years now. When I was putting together a Halloween costume in the mid-aughts, I saw their forums, and over time I'd seen that, it must have been sometime the past 10 years that there was a Chicago group, and but I had nothing, I had no gear, and I kept thinking I was going to buy a pack or something, and I would reach out to you guys then. So when the HasLab campaign came out and I suddenly found myself with a pack, I felt like I was, I had what I needed to at least, reach out. And at the time, I pinged you guys, and a couple months, I got my 4 events in, and the rest is history. It's been a lot of fun.
Very good. Well, you mentioned your Proton Pack. Does your Proton Pack have a name?
I haven't named it. I hear that's a thing. But I don't have tattoos. I just, something about the permanence of something like that. I haven't gone through and done it. I should find out what the serial number is, and I can just call it one of 20,000. But
no. We're gonna have to come up with a name by the end of the
that's
show.
a good challenge. That's a good challenge. I will. I'll work on that.
Like Rusty or Blackie.
We'll take.
Black
We can work
Beauty,
with
Black Beauty, like the horse.
There we go. Until a better name arises, we'll call it Black Beauty.
We'll call it the Secret Garden. How's that?
There it is. Yeah.
With no secrets.
Any other children's literature that we can think of?
There we go. All right. Well, we've gotten how you got into Windy City, but how did you get into Ghostbusters? What sparked it all?
That's a question my parents have not been able to answer for me, because I got the Ghostbusters soundtrack record on vinyl when I was 3 years old. So I was born in '83.
Nice.
The cartoon came out in '86, right? Late
Yeah.
85, '86. So I can only imagine that I got into the cartoon really heavy, because that's where I'm never quite sure. Did I get into the cartoon or the movie first? But I'm pretty sure I must have gotten into the cartoon. I got the record when I was 3. Still have it. It's at my parents' house somewhere. But so it's been, early on. It was Star Wars and Ghostbusters as a little kid in the '80s, and that it's just sort of carried through over the years. Ebbs and flows. It was tough to be a Ghostbusters fan in the '90s and early 2000s. So it was, but I carried the torch as best that I could. But there just wasn't that much out there to really, boost your interests at the time. But I've been right there. Always been a fan. Was a Ghostbuster for Halloween plenty of times in my 20s. So.
But nothing's as good as
Any embarrassing photos of you as a child?
Oh, there it is.
So look at that guy.
That is 1989, Christmas 1989. Ghostbusters 2 had come out, and after Ghostbusters 2 came out, they put out those Ecto goggles, I think. But that's the official Ghostbusters 2 jumpsuit that little kids were sold, and I thought it was pretty primo at the time. But even then, as a 6-year-old, I was very conscious of all the not screen accurate parts of that suit. I knew, I was like, oh, the texture is not right, and the moogly on the arm is a big circle instead of cut around it, and it doesn't have a real nameplate, and I don't have a belt. So I was always very focused on getting as close to screen accurate as I could. So those kind of toys, I loved them, and they didn't look like the ones from the movie, and that always kind of got to me a little bit. So I think that kind of feeds into what I've loved as I got into the Windy City Ghostbusters. Was you kind of pick which Ghostbuster you want to be, and I keep falling into trying to get to all the screen accurate stuff as I can on everything.
Well, that's a good segue into our next question.
Sure.
Who is your favorite Ghostbuster?
It was always Peter Venkman. I kind of, all the kids wanted to be the funny guy, and Bill Murray was as big as you can get, in the 80s and early 90s. So I was always a huge Bill Murray fan. As I've gotten older, especially after Frozen Empire, if you ask me today, Ray is my favorite. I thought he had his best performance of all the films here in Frozen Empire.
Sure.
So I've been on a Ray kick lately. Just his passion and drive and just there's no reason for him to still be doing what he's doing other than he loves the business and loves being a Ghostbuster. And so I'd say Ray these days is my favorite. But growing up, it was always Bill Murray. I've always, still to this day, I've forgiven him, but I tease him. My dad, we sat next to Bill Murray. He was on an aisle across from me. I was on an aisle at a Cubs game. Bill Murray was the same row across the aisle. And my dad just leaned over and said, "He's just here to watch a baseball game. Don't say anything. Just let him enjoy the baseball game." And so I couldn't even look over. I just was afraid to even look over, but there was just a line that went from his seat all the way back up the stadium, and he was just watching the game and just kind of scribbling on the paper without taking his eyes off the game. And I kicked myself for not trying to get him to sign a ticket stub or something that day. But that was my big close call with Bill Murray as a kid, and man, not many 8-year-olds were bigger Bill Murray fans than me at the time.
But you know what? Good for you for doing that, because you think about it all day, every. No. We'll get back to that. But no, seriously, good for you for it's like an 8-year-old trying to keep something in the box and not opening it. You know how hard that is for someone. And to keep a mint in box. I mean, you were scared enough to be like, okay, I probably shouldn't mess with this guy. You see the line. These guys get this every day, and because of Ghostbusters, this is what they hear constantly. No one's ever coming up to Bill Murray, "Oh, I loved you in Groundhog's Day," or "I loved you in Kingpin," which I did love him in Kingpin. It was fantastic as Ernie McCracken.
Yeah, the Rose
larger than life. Another gem.
The Rose bowling ball is on my list of prop replicas at some point that I'd like to put on a shelf. But
nice.
That would be good. But you think about it. We take Wonderverse as an example. Those toxic fans that come in there and they just want their crap signed so they can sell it. They ruin it for the rest of us. So I say kudos to those who can throttle back, be respectful, and can just admire from a distance. If you are lucky enough to get an autograph, then yes, cherish it. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree with you. I mean, the right thing to do is to let a human being be a human being at these kinds of events. But it was, I feel like an 8-year-old with sad eyes could have at least weaseled over there and not caused too much damage if they asked. But yeah, as an adult, I do take that mindset too of let them be human. But yeah, that Wonderverse event was something.
Yeah, well, at least we got to see him a little bit.
Yep.
So, what is your favorite movie of the franchise? Since we're talking about you as an adult now that you've seen them all up to this point.
Yeah.
Favorite movie?
It really bounces around. So I've been watching a lot of Ghostbusters 2 lately. The thing that I'll throw on in the background while I'm just trying to get some work done. and I think that's because I have on order a Magnolia GB2 khaki, and I'm anxious to get that, so I just keep throwing that on because I'm enjoying watching that. And I think it's a little, it's that's kind of my current, just I could throw it on in the background and recite along with it. I don't need to watch it, but so I go through phases. Right now, Ghostbusters 2 is in there, but it's hard to top one. And I grew up on a different Ghostbusters, the '84, because we taped it off TV, and they had the TV edits, which had a whole bunch of different
wow.
lines than what's in the actual film. So my whole life, until I think freshman year of high school, I watched the recorded off TV version, and that was the movie that I knew. And then I got it as a gift. I got the like a clamshell, some sort of anniversary edition in high school, and all of a sudden I'm hearing what he's really calling Walter Peck, and all of a sudden there's a new scene in a dream sequence in the montage, and all these things that were never there. So I think this first movie never was my favorite after Ghostbusters 2 came out, and then once I saw it with new eyes, I took new interest in the first one as well. So I'm wishy-washy, JR. I love Afterlife. I like Frozen Empire, but right now I'd say Ghostbusters 2 is the one that brings me some comfort. It's my comfort food. It's my meatball. It's my meatloaf and mashed potatoes at the moment.
Norm, you've been doing this show for a while now, and now that we're in season 2, would you agree that most people say it's Ghostbusters 2?
I would say it's not that I've kept track, but it seems like it. Yes. Most people have good taste. It's fine.
And I think there's, just based on the age of a lot of folks. I mean, I was born on June 8th. So I turned 1 the day that Ghostbusters came out. So I was not at the theater seeing that and remembering it, but my birthday party in 1989 was taking all my friends to go see Ghostbusters 2 the weekend that it came out. So, that was, that I have a whole lot more, those personal attachments. You would think that my parents would have told me that they were making a sequel, knowing that I was as big of a Ghostbusters fan as I was growing up. But I have a distinct memory of walking through the living room as the trailer came on for the first time that I saw for Ghostbusters 2, and my mind blown and literally running circles through my parents' living room. And I must have been so annoying, but I remember I kept trying to do an exact mimic of the way that the Moogly kind of squeezes through the cross, circle and cross to give the 2. He kind of like does like a swoop and puts his fingers up. And I remember being so annoying, saying, no, I think it was like this, and just redoing it over and over and over. I was so excited that there was a new Ghostbusters movie, coming out. So those, I think, all kind of those memories all get wrapped into when I think of Ghostbusters 2 as in its entirety. That's all wrapped in there. And that was the one that I got excited for and knew was a totally new experience when I went to see it. One of the scariest moments for me in cinema history is when Janosch's eyes start glowing in the hallway in Ghostbusters 2. I shut my eyes as soon as that happened in the movie. I remember I was so freaked out. I just closed my eyes until I heard the scene change and knew it was safe to open them again. So
I just wanted to say visuals help. Thank you for the visual.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
Cool too. I can stand up. And
you did mention something about no. I was gonna say you did mention something about how you watched the made-for-TV movie version. Well, made for TV, because they had to edit it for TV, and then finally watching the original. I had something similar happen to me, so I feel your your anxiety in that way, because for the longest time I had this movie. I'm sure you've seen it, Dumbo, right? But the version I had was the all Spanish version. I had never had the English version. So as a kid, I'm watching this movie and they're calling them Dumbo, Dumbo. And then I see a trailer for the movie and they're calling him Disney's Dumbo. I'm like, why are they calling him Dumbo? It's Dumbo. And I could not wrap my head around it. Could not get it.
So when you're
and then the mouse sounded different.
Is there your
Yes.
default still Dumbo?
Yes, I will correct people, and I will say, when you mean you mean Dumbo? No, you mean Dumbo. Don't you dare! So I feel it. I feel you, bro. It's like in Trading Places when Dan Aykroyd says, "Let's kick some butt," and that's not what he really says.
Yeah, that's another one where you watch. I watch that on Comedy Central for so many times that when you actually see the actual movie. But,
yeah, that's just wild.
That's like I think that's the root of Mandela effect type stuff. There.
Oh, geez. Did you mention where you were from?
I'm from Western Springs, Illinois, so western suburbs.
Okay.
I was born and raised out there, and live in Downers Grove right now. So
okay. All right.
So you'll usually see me in more of the western suburb events.
Yeah. All right then. Well, moving on. Do you have any hobbies outside of Ghostbusters?
Right now, being a dad, I've got my daughter just turned 3 this week, or last week, and so that's taken up a lot of my time on that front. But I love to cook. That's sort of my my little stress relief hobby there. So love to cook and bake and try and perfect things. And I think that roots to when my wife and I first started dating. I was just about to go and be a student teacher, so I had to quit my job, and I knew that I wasn't going to have any income for 6 months, and we had just moved in together. So to say those were lean times in our household would be an understatement. So I tried really hard to replicate things that we might have gotten used to going out to restaurants or bars, but at home. So really tried to replicate as much as I could, with the meals and learning to make cocktails and all that stuff. So that sort of became my hobby, and how I'd wind up spending a lot of my weekends in the kitchen. And since being a Ghostbuster,
so what would you say is your?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead. Finish.
Oh no, I was moving on a little bit. So go ahead.
Hydrate.
Oh, hydrate.
I was going to ask you, what is your? Oh, again. Go again. All right. Now that we've done that, what would you say is your specialty in the kitchen? Your favorite meal to make?
That's a good question. I have, I make a pretty good pie. So I worked really hard at kind of perfecting a pie crust, and so Thanksgiving is right up my alley, where I get to really stretch and make a variety of pies. Pies there, and then I don't know if I have necessarily a one type of thing. I think my wife loves my risotto. I'm pretty good. I can make a pretty good risotto. Seafood, mushroom. Those are her 2 favorites that I can put together there. But
do you have Gordon Ramsay? Do you have Gordon Ramsay in the background going, "Who made this risotto?"
I think of it every time, because I know that if it's too thick or too thin, you're in real trouble. So, but that is playing through my mind often. Too many episodes of Hell's Kitchen. But those are fun. So that's the most requested, I would say. My wife likes the risottos.
All right,
and
very
curry. I
good,
make a pretty
very
good
good,
red
very
curry.
very good. All right, guess you and I will have to do some recipe swapping there.
Oh yeah, if you ever want to know, and to make a pretty good chocolate chip cookie, my pecan pie, blueberry pie.
All
I
right.
make a good blueberry pie.
Well, now that everyone's hungry that has been watching, thank you.
Happy to not be the only one carrying an extra
Okay.
few pounds.
Well, none of us fit in our suits, right? So, moving on. We'll stick with Ghostbusters. We'll move on. We'll move on a little bit. But actually, outside of Ghostbusters, like, are you a Marvel fan? Are you a DC fan? Is there something else out there that does interest you?
I'm a Star Wars fan.
Oh,
And,
there we go.
and that was it was Star Wars and Ghostbusters were my two big things as a kid. And so now, as a 40-year-old, I find all the toys and all of the things that I wanted as a kid, because I'm a big thing with screen accuracy. So there was a Star Wars mask that was popular, like a stormtrooper mask that was popular in the 80s and 90s, and it had, I think Ruby, I don't know who made it, Ruby, somebody, but it was a real bad mold. And instead of lenses, it had like holes drilled
Yep, I
through
remember that.
the eyes. Horrible looking mask, but it was the closest thing you could get. And I spent years waiting to get that mask, and I got it in junior high. And there's pictures of me on a vacation, because it came like the day we left for vacation. And when I was finding the picture of me as a Ghostbuster, I had to flip through a whole bunch where it's just me in the background of our vacation wearing a stormtrooper helmet around, because I had waited so long to finally get this helmet, and then I was going to have to leave it for a week. So I said, nope, I'm bringing it with me. And just, you can't see in these things, but and the helmet is still over at my parents' house. So Star Wars, and also, I play guitar, and
I am sorry.
hold on. Well,
Are we back? Are we okay?
sometime I will get the picture of me wearing a stormtrooper helmet and share it.
Again, forgive me for laughing, but I've done that. Okay, I've done that where I've got something finally that I've waited so long to get, and it's like, nope, this is coming with me. This is going on the vacation. No, this is going over here. I don't care. It's like, well, you look ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't care. You look ridiculous.
I don't care how impractical it is. I'm bringing this with me. But yeah, so those are those are the big things. But I was in high school. I was a huge Beatles nut. I still am, but I just devoured every biography and every book about the Beatles. And I someone bought me a Beatles Trivial Pursuit game one time, and I've never played it. It's still wrapped, because nobody will actually play the game with me, because they know it's not going to end well for them. So it still sits in the plastic, and it's never been touched. But big time Beatles nerd, down to buying. I play guitar, but it's like, I've got John Lennon plays this Epiphone Casino on the roof. I've got to get an Epiphone Casino. I've got to strip the paint off of it and put on the Grover tuners and all the little things that you can do to make it look like John's guitar or Paul's bass and all that. And if I did have a wife and a kid, I'd probably have a lot more guitars. But it's hard to justify the expense as much these days as it was a long time ago. But yeah, so guitars and the Beatles. I was a huge Beatles nut for a while.
I bet your game is still closed because everyone else were Elvis Presley fans.
My wife is a huge Elvis fan. She does not like Paul McCartney's singing voice, so she doesn't listen to like, just on our wedding playlist. It was a fight to get a few Beatles songs squeezed in there, but she is a big Elvis fan.
Jeez. Do you still play guitar?
I do, not as much as I used to. My daughter, for a little while, was scared of the guitar, and my dogs howl when you play it, so I kind of left it alone. But I've been picking it up now that my daughter is not scared of it, but now I don't know any of the kid songs on there. So, being like the Beatles nut, I know a song like I've got a feeling by the Beatles. I just changed the words to I've got Minnie, Minnie Mouse, and we just sing about Minnie's polka dots and Minnie's wearing a bow, and so just changing lyrics to Beatles songs is how I entertain my daughter with the guitar these days.
Well, try 8 days a week, or I want to hold your hand.
But we also do Don't Let Minnie Down. A lot of Minnie Mouse. She holds her Minnie Mouse stuffed animal, and
nice.
likes me to pick out the different features on Minnie and incorporate it into lyrics. So we do Don't Let Minnie Down instead of Don't Let Me Down. Pink Bird instead of Blackbird.
Yeah. Well, at least it's not Baby Shark.
That's when I put the guitar down. Baby Shark goes on.
But it hits hard for the kids. As soon as that first note hit, you're like,
oh, I know, yeah. And I catch myself listening to those Baby Sharks and the songs of that ilk. I'm just so used to having them on. I'll drive my car and not realize that I've still got those queued up, and I'll be in there 15 minutes before I realize that I don't have to be listening to these songs, and I'll be really upset that I just wasted 15 minutes that I could have been enjoying something different. But I'm sure you know what that's like.
Oh, I do. But to segue away from that for a little bit, my kids they actually like a lot more songs that I thought, like, why do you know this song? Why are you asking for Bohemian Rhapsody? Why are you asking for Here Comes the Hot Stepper? Like, where did you hear these songs? So they left Baby Shark and all that other stuff alone, except for Axel F. They love that Axel F song, the Crazy Frog.
Oh,
one of the most annoying songs in the world. But if I leave them alone, like right now, I told them to be quiet because I'm on this meeting right now. But if I left them to their own devices, they'd be playing it, blaring it right now, and screaming at the top of their lungs. So, something to look forward to, good sir.
I'm waiting. Yeah, as soon as if we graduate a little bit out of these, I'll be okay.
All right. So, what event so far has been like, man, that was really fun? What have you done so far with Windy City that was like, dude, that was amazing, I can't wait for more?
That's a good question. I think the events that I like, and I feel I'm self-conscious that I have not gotten to any of the hospital visits yet. I know a lot of them are during the week and during the day, and it's been a little bit harder for me to get out to one. But I just did, like, the Birch's retirement community had a Halloween party, and you would not think that the residents there would have a good sense of humor with Ghostbusters showing up. But you do get the "you here for us" kind of comments coming from them. But that was, I think it's hard for me to pick one just being over the other, because I really do try and focus on that. I'm not there so much for me as I'm there for whatever the cause is. I consider I'm very much trying to keep I'm on duty, I am at a job type professional mentality, as opposed to any of the social stuff. But I just love seeing the age range of people that recognize us, and I think I try and keep in mind me in that picture that we showed earlier, as that kid would absolutely have loved to have walked into any event and seen what the Windy City Ghostbusters are all about. There was nothing like that to see then. So I think anytime I'm there and interacting with people, I'm excited and I'm happy, and I love to let the kids, or adult, whoever asks, but they want to hold the PKE, if they want to hold the ghost trap, or grab the neutrino wand, have at it, because I would have loved to have had access to something like that when I was a kid. So it's no particular event is standing out head or shoulders over another, but they're all have just been exciting and fun, and it's a lot harder to keep a 30-pound pack on your back than I gave it credit for when I first started. For by hour 3, sometimes it really starts to you start to feel it, but it's it's a fun sort of pain to fight through on there.
It is fun, and I remember your first event. I remember that O'Hare playing pool. That was, uh, well, funny enough, that was Norm's baby. That was his thing. That's how the whole reason why we got into that was because Norm had set that up. But I remember you walking up, and I'm like, "Who is this behemoth of a man, and why is he wearing a suit?" But it was actually Bob. Bob told me that you were one of the new rookies, and I'm like, "He ain't no rookie."
Got the gray hair.
Yeah, he ain't no rookie. I'm telling you right now, he ain't no rookie. But I went up and introduced myself. You were very polite, and you were just so. I remember the smile you had on from ear to ear, man. It didn't leave you that whole day. Not even when we were pulling, man. You were just having a ball. So
I I'm waiting for and I know it'll happen eventually, or hopefully it doesn't. But I still get excited just throwing the gear on. It's just it's just fun, and it's good to have an excuse, to do it for a good cause. And that was, but like I said, I can feel that, that 6-year-old, dreaming of ever, having anything like this, having those blue Kenner packs that were plenty cool and way cooler than they deserved to be, but always wanting, one of these, and being able to throw that on. And when I built my ghost trap earlier this year, it was sitting on our dining room table for a long time because I work at one corner of our dining room table. My wife just, how long are we keeping this? Like, cause we have our centerpiece to our dining room table. It's seasonal and looks very nice. And I've got my ghost trap and pedal sitting there in the middle, so I can admire that during the day. But that's I'm waiting for that stuff to wear off, but it hasn't yet, which is still a lot of fun. And yeah, and it's fun that everyone gets to pick the Ghostbuster they want to be. At first, when I first joined, I had all these ideas of how unique I was going to make my uniform and my gear, and I kept going back to the Ghostbuster that I want to be just is closer to what was on the screen. That's my Ghostbuster, because that was always what I was striving for as a kid. My mom would get so annoyed because she could never find those. The little kids have those mitten clips,
yeah,
those short little clips you attach to your thing. I would always take their belts and put them on and hang those clips from my belt because they looked like the key fobs that are on the Ghostbusters belt. So I would constantly be taking those and clipping them to belts and wearing them around the house. And then when she was actually trying to use them for me or one of my siblings, they were never where they were supposed to be. So, but I was always striving for that, walked right off the screen type thing, and so that's kind of where I've stayed. So I have a whole bunch of stuff in my Amazon cart and GB Fans cart that would have been a little bit more unique to my look that I just haven't pulled the trigger on because I just keep wanting to be closer to what's on the screen.
well, it's funny you say something like that because us three, we emulate the Ghostbuster from our era, so to speak. We got these new movies coming out. I'm waiting for the kids that are like, oh, I want to be like Phoebe. Oh, I want to be like
Yes, yeah, and that's that's exciting because we're going. We hang around another 5 years. These kids that were in junior high and grade school are going to be graduating high school and maybe looking to join the ranks, and they won't really remember a world where there weren't 3 or 4 Ghostbusters movies out there. But that's going to be fun, and it'll make me feel old, but thank God. I just never thought that there would be a third Ghostbusters movie in this line. I was really excited that 2016 came out and something picked it up somewhere. I think I was just glad that there was a heartbeat still going for it in there. And I it was a bad time across the country, and I think that movie kind of got a scapegoat to some of the other hostilities that were being thrown around at the time. I think that kind of got swept up in that, and but that, I love the people in our group too that pull from that movie, because it just expands who we're reaching, and and just makes the Ghostbusters world bigger.
Oh, I've maintained, as everyone has their opinions on all these movies, but I maintain that 2016 did one huge major thing, and that was get more females into the hobby. And that was great to see, because I had one friend, she loved Ghostbusters, but she was always embarrassed to dress up like one with me. I'm like, come on, we'll go as Ghostbusters. We already have the suits. She goes, I love Ghostbusters, but there's not really women. I'm like, there's Janine. And I'm like, and she's like, she never wore the and we would just get into this huge fight back and forth. So 2016 comes along, finally, ladies in the packs, and they got their suits, and then
it doesn't have to be pink.
No,
yeah,
absolutely not.
Like Janine had to be pink in the cartoon. Her suit, I think, was pink in the cartoon, but it's inclusive, and I think that's awesome. I think that's a huge part, and I know I've only known us under your leadership, JR. I came in kind of as you were starting, but that's a big deal, is how hard we've worked to make sure that we're a place that everybody can find a place in.
I'm actually really, really, really glad you said that, because to take a moment here, when someone takes over an organization such as this, you have some big shoes to fill in the beginning, and to get your feet wet, it's so daunting. But when you have good people behind you to show you the way, it makes it a lot easier. And then when you get the Ghostbusters that come in, that have the great attitude, that want to do this, that realize, oh, this is for kids. This is amazing. You guys are beyond what we expected, because that's the crazy thing. When they expect to see the Ghostbusters, they're like, oh, what do you guys do? And then we show up, and it's like, oh, this is cool. So there was a hard time for to be a Ghostbuster, but I think you were right. You hit on something, that the fandom was there. It was like very faint heartbeat, but that all we needed was that little catalyst to get us over that hump. So I'm grateful for anything Ghostbusters, anything. I won so many contests in the military just because I already had the flight suit.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to do anything now that I've got all the gear. I have not made it out to do any costume contests or anything along those lines. But
and now that's the problem.
those days will come. I know I'll embarrass my daughter plenty throwing the gear on to show up at her Halloween parties.
Or she's gonna suit up like Daddy.
Maybe, we'll see. And not her. We'll just force it on the second kid.
Oh man, that's funny. Okay, let me ask you about who was it that? No, that's not the right way to put that. How can I put this? All right. You mentioned your wife. Does she get Ghostbusters? Does she understand why you do this?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a important thing. And my wife actually she pushed me towards this in a couple different ways. One of the ways that I contributed and gave back pre Windy City Ghostbusters was at soup kitchens, and every time I would finally find a soup kitchen that I could go back to, and that started in high school. That was what I would. I went to a Catholic school, and so we had service hours that we had to make sure we hit every year, and so I knocked out my service hours at a soup kitchen in Uptown, and but every time I would find a new soup kitchen, they would lose funding and close. They just aren't staying open, so it was really hard to keep doing that. And with COVID, it sort of I ran out of places that I knew to do that. But my wife was really feeling self-conscious that we weren't doing enough to, to give back. Um, and then she also kept asking me after the HasLab was here and sitting in my living room on my coffee table because I had no place else to put it for a little while. Uh, you know, what are you going to do with that thing? Because I definitely did not emphasize how big it was when I told her what I had ordered before it arrived. And when you watch it, you don't get an appreciation for the size just watching the movies. So when it arrived, it was taking up a lot of space. And she's like, "What are you planning on doing with this?" So I had to start coming up with, there's a reason I have this. And that reason is I'm going to join a charity group, and it'll let me wear that proton pack for a children's hospital. So it sort of was that extra nudge of we got to be doing a little bit more, and it was that sort of coinciding with when I got the proton pack that I think kicked me out the door a little bit more, because I am very introverted, and it takes a little bit for me to put myself out there. I can turn it on because I have a history in theater, and I was a teacher in a past life, so I can do that. I can turn it on. I do need but my introverted self needs some recharge time definitely at the end of that stuff, but it takes me a little bit to do this, and I've never done any cosplay. Halloween was the extent of me ever dressing up and going in public anywhere, so I was not 100% comfortable doing this for the first time and not really knowing what to do. So getting me out the door, long story short, my wife was a big catalyst there, and she gets it as far as she knows that I take a lot of comfort, and it brings me a lot of comfort and eases anxiety to kind of fall back into some things that I loved as a kid. And I think she gets that too, because I know Christmas time, we're huge Christmas movie fans, and the movies from our childhood there, your Home Alones, and for her it's White Christmas, but things that brought us comfort at some stressful times as kids. She gets where this energy goes, and that this is something that helps kind of ease some of the stress and anxiety, and ease the pain that occasionally was there as a little kid.
Well, yeah, I always like to look at Ghostbusters as my second family, and I do mean that because I maintained when I left the military, it was really hard to find that camaraderie again that you would get, and finding Windy City was just a huge blessing, and I mean that in every sense of the word, and just from the people to the kids to just the simple gestures, and I think that's really really a big part of why we do this, man. It's hard to find anything even close to this feeling. So kudos to you and hoorah, sir. I share your
Yeah, thank you.
sentiment.
It is a unique thing. There's not a lot of outside of sports, and then sports are not always done for a good cause, out there. But it's hard to find a group of people that have a like-minded goal, and are, just focused on doing good and looking good at the same time.
All right. Well, that being said, uh, where do you see yourself in the future with Windy City? Are you planning on joining any offices, or
Yeah,
you just want to maintain and just be,
I would love to be more active. I like to, again, uh, my wife early on kind of made a rule that I'm allowed to complain if I'm doing something about it. So I think that was her, tired of hearing me talk politics in the house. But so that's something that she established there. And so there, I think anytime anybody joins anything, there's plenty where you look around and go, well, I would do that a little bit differently. But I think I do a decent job of trying to share ideas in a constructive way as someone who's not a part of, any leadership. But I also know there is a certain amount of time that I would need to commit in order to feel like I was doing a good job. And, baby number 2 is coming in February. And that's so I know my time for the next, year and a half or two is going to be a little bit more limited than I'd like it to be if I were to, run for some sort of, committee position. So I would like to, in the future, I would love to be a part of a committee here. But for the next year or two, I'm probably going to still just do what I can in the capacity that I currently am in. But I think it's also safe to say that you guys listen, and and James and JR too. I mean, I'll come up with ideas or mumble something when we're at an event if I think we could be doing it a little bit differently, and it's always taken the at least to my face it's taken well. But so yeah, I would love to contribute more. I should say that I would love to contribute more. It's just kind of a tough time to be the dad I want to be, and also be able to commit the time that I think I would want to commit, because I think right now I'm at 7 or 8 events for the year, and I want to be able to hit those events a lot more consistently and be able to drive further than half an hour to an event to right now if we go to some of those further events, if I leave my wife with my daughter a few weekends in a row by herself to entertain a 2-year-old, that can be a grind.
Yeah.
So, just do what I did. Just start bringing them along. We got plenty of adults.
Believe me, as soon as every week when I take her to the grocery store is my test of, is this girl just going to sprint and run as far away from me as possible? As soon as I let go of her hand, as soon as she starts listening to me a little bit better, we can start doing that. But right now we're still in the sprint and look back with a big grin on her face as she runs away and doesn't listen to a word I say when I tell her to stop. So at the moment, that's not on the car or in the cards. But you're right. I think that'll help me get to more events when I'm able to say, oh, and I'm going to take Delaney's coming with me. So we're going to another event. Going to be at St. Charles Scarecrow Fest all day. So.
You did mention you had a little bit of a theater background. We talking plays, or we talking short movies? What are we talking?
Oh, not anything on the movie side, but there's a really great community theater in Western Springs, the Theater of Western Springs. They've been around since the 40s, I think, and they have one of the best children's theaters in the country. Now, my dad has been an active member of the Theater of Western Springs since the late 70s. So I grew up going to plays, and in 3rd grade, I started taking classes there. Took a bit of a break, and then I got really into pro wrestling in the early 90s, and I really got into all the cool lights and the technical stuff that was going on as far as their presentation. And so the theater had a technical theater class that was all about lights and sound design and set construction and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And so
I remember that class.
That is in my wheelhouse. So I became a theater techie for a few years, and then my teacher left the theater, and I said, well, maybe I'll try my hand at acting. I was cast in a play as a techie, never having actually acted before, but I was there so often the director thought that I was just assumed that I had acting training, and they lost a role in a Shakespeare play. Like somebody bailed at the last second, and she saw me and said, what are you doing? We've got a show in a couple of weeks. Can you come in and do this? And I said, sure, I can. And so I went from just doing like props and lights and sound in theater to playing Theseus in A Midsummer Night's Dream, which I promise you, my very first performance, I flubbed my first line, stopped and apologized to the audience and started again. So I said, whatever it was, I like shook my head and went, sorry, and I just started again, and I've never to this day I've never lived it down. I'll occasionally see people from that show, and they'll bring it up that you're the guy that had painted on a really bad beard because you had no idea how to do stage makeup, and you apologized to the audience. I said, "That's me. That's me,
That's
Theseus."
that's fantastic. Your
But I went on to
story is.
continue doing acting, but
I was gonna say your
I got
story is
better.
so similar to a lot of people how they got into acting. Oh, I started as as a techie, and then one day I had to fill in for a role, and then one role became two roles became three, and all of a sudden, bye bye techie.
Yeah, you don't say no, and I think that was when I was a that that has led me to so many things. So when I at one point started getting into professional wrestling, so I was a big wrestling fan, and then when the Stone Cold era hit, I started going to independent shows around Chicago, and became friends with the people that were. One of them had a production crew, and I became friends with some people in the production crew, and all of a sudden I was hired to be a cameraman for an independent wrestling promotion. And I did that, and by being a cameraman, I started talking to some of the wrestlers, and I was a bigger guy. I was probably 220 pounds in my senior year of high school, and they asked if I could be part of the show, and I think they needed someone to be an INS agent. They had a tag team from Mexico.
Oh,
And this is
jeez.
again, this is when we talk about where we've grown as a culture. It was a deportation match, and if the tag team from Mexico lost, INS agents would storm the ring and handcuff them and take them out to be deported, and that was my role there.
I remember that angle that they did with Carlito. They did the same thing. I
Oh,
remember
did they
that.
do that? Yeah, this was in
Yes.
2000, maybe the year 2000, and so Carlito would have come a lot later. But
Yeah. So they were testing it with you.
so I still like at my parents' house in my closet in my old bedroom is a black T-shirt that says INS on the front, and yeah, that was so that they fired me from the camera crew when they said, well, you can be in the show, but you can't still be a camera person. So I said, oh, I'll be in the show then. It's not like I was making a lot of money. And then I went on, and from there I trained to wrestle after I turned 18. I wrestled for a couple of years, and till I broke my leg and hurt my neck and my back, and I said, all right, I think I want to be able to move beyond the age of 25, so I'm gonna hang up this wrestling gig for a little while. But it was fun to see some of the independent wrestling connections that are in Windy City, and talk to Steve about some of the people that I knew that are old. Now they're all old timers, because that was 2001 to 2003, so that was a ways ago that I was in it.
Wow, that's just an amazing way to go through. So I see we're
I
almost
found a
there.
way to take my passions. Yeah, I found a way to take my passions and actually realize, a lot of them. So I can't be a Ninja Turtle. That's so we'll cross. I can't be a Jedi or a Ninja Turtle, but I got to be a wrestler, and now I've gotten to be a Ghostbuster. And who knows? When the kids are not soaking up so much time and money, I might be able to join the 501st with James and scratch the Star Wars itch too.
Well, that would be amazing. I look forward to seeing that. But seeing as we are almost out of time, I'm going to ask you the very last question, and it's the main question. Why do you bust?
Makes me feel good.
Best answer.
But yeah, no, it's really, it checks so many boxes. It allows me to contribute back. It puts me out there, takes me out of my comfort zone. I think COVID really hurt, as far as, I came out of COVID suddenly with all these social anxieties that I never had before. I remember the first time I went to go hang out with a group of friends, because I had my daughter during the pandemic. So while everyone else was getting out of the pandemic, we had just had my daughter. So I still kind of kept myself in the bubble for a while, because we were waiting to get her vaccinated when she turned 6 months. So my pandemic lasted a little bit longer there. So I came out with all the social anxiety. I went to go meet up with friends, and all of a sudden I was questioning. I was like, I don't think they're going to think I'm funny. I don't think I'm any fun to be around. And that was kind of a weird feeling. So this has helped in a lot of ways, shake off some of that social anxiety rust, but also um, we can't be giving back to a better cause than we are. And I get so proud to hear those totals coming out at the end of the events, and also so impressed with just the general public and their willingness and ease to want to contribute. Because there's no, for most of them, we just put a smile on their face. They heard that we do something, and so they're giving us some cash. Like that's impressive. I think speaks to what the Ghostbusters is and the place that it holds in a lot of people's, minds and memories. That just, if you can make someone smile, it really goes a long way. And that's what we do, putting smiles on people's faces, put a smile on my face every time I get to do it. It's just, it's the best. It's a really interesting, unique thing to do. And I love that I found you guys.
Couldn't have said it better, buddy. Fantastic. We are absolutely happy to have you. I guarantee you that.
Thank you.
So, well, I guess my last question is, are you ready to take over next week?
I don't have a choice. I didn't even ask for this. You guys just told me. No. I'm very excited because I love, I love a challenge, but I'm just excited to talk to more people and hear their stories and continue to help expand the Windy City Ghostbusters brand. I've been, it's a grind, and James can attest to that, but I think we've done a really good job of putting ourselves out there more. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I'm happy and excited to be a part of, continuing to help build the brand. And only good things come from us growing. So, the more we can grow this, the more events we can go to, the more online contributions we can get, the more smiles we can put on the faces of kids over at La Rabida. And that's exciting to me. So I appreciate you guys putting some faith in me to take over, and I'm looking forward to sitting in your chair next week, JR.
Oh, you can't have this one. This is my Spider-Man chair. You can't have this.
No, I already talked to your wife. You're coming home from work, and the chair is long gone.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Norm, why don't you go ahead and give us your information from the beginning?
No problem. So again, if you may have missed it in the beginning, on this Saturday, starting at 8 a.m., Bob and I are going to be participating in the Extra Life Day of Play. So that's going to be a 24-hour gaming marathon where we're both going to be playing video games for 24 hours. Bob's going to be on his channel. I'm going to be on mine, but we're going to be kind of cooperating together and doing some fun stuff. So please check that out. We're raising money for Children's Miracle Network. So that'll in Chicago, that will benefit Lurie's. But it's a really awesome charity. We're really excited. We'll be playing a whole slew of different video games, a lot of Ghostbusters games. It'll be a lot of fun, and there'll be a lot of things and ways to interact. So that'll be on Twitch. So make sure you're following us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Windy City Ghostbusters, or twitch.tv/Bob After Dark Plays will be Bob's channel. But like I said, we're going to have some fun stuff that you'll be able to do if you donate to interact with us, and just keep us awake for 24 hours while we play video games, because that's going to be hard.
James, are there links to, if you want to donate before or after the event? Is the ability to donate only during the event itself?
Can donate. You can absolutely donate if you're interested in donating to our page, to our part of the charity. There should be a link on our Twitch page at the bottom.
Okay.
To be able to do so. That would be great. But like I said, it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to be have some hijinks and stuff planned, and some other cooperations with other franchises and things too while we're doing it. So we got a lot of things that we're working out So it'll be a lot of fun. So please check that out on Saturday. So follow us on our social medias. You'll see more information. But most importantly, follow us on Twitch.
Awesome. I'm excited.
All
It'll
right.
be cool.
Thank you, Norm. Patrick, last words. What do you got, buddy?
Just strap in, everybody. You have not even begun to see the excitement that is Why We Bust. We're taking everything we've learned from Kristen. We're gonna just turn it up a notch, and keep going. We've got this has been a great show, and just excited and hoping to live up to the legacy of the previous 16, 17 episodes that we've done. So excited to pick up the flag here.
All right. As Patrick has stated, as you can see, I have all my Slimer gear in honor of Kristen. We thank her for her services as the Why We Bust host. We hope everything is well. Just like Ian Malcolm said, life goes on. Or finds a way, whichever
Life
that.
Finds a way is the actual line there, but
in the book he says life goes on.
Yeah, well, who said we were supposed to be accurate? We're just, goofballs with magic backpacks.
yeah, we're not Jurassic Park people. It's fine.
But we do wish Kristen all the best. Hope to see you soon. We miss you. We love you. Here's to season 2, gentlemen. There we go. Here's to season 2, gentlemen.
Cheers.
And with that, I would like to say good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you are. Please tune in next time. And remember, this is why we bust.